Alright, I know I've already showed this car off before. Well, actually, before I start saying all that, I want to apologize for wind noise and a shaky camera. I'm doing this just with my phone. I don't have any editing software, which, if somebody's watching this and does know some editing software that's for a phone, I'd love to know. I'd love to do editing. But with that being said, this is a 1980, almost an 86 Jaguar XJSC. Now, this particular Jaguar is completely worthless. Absolutely nothing but a carcass here. Nothing but a carcass here. It's missing the V12 that was originally in this car, and the XJSC was a basically some information about this car was it was a really upper end, higher luxury touring coupe, V12 touring coupe, making about 300 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque out of this particular one had a 5.3 liter V12 with a twin overhead cam. It had two cams over each cylinder side. I don't know how many they made. I know they didn't make many Jaguar XJS's V12s in general. I know the C is really rare. They only made it for about 2 years, I think, from what I remember. And this one has some pretty bad body rust on it. Some of the things I was going to say about this car was some of the ideas I had for it if I were to ever get my hands on it. Oh, wind. Yeah, it's pretty windy today. Bear with me. Some of the other features of the car that don't matter anymore was it had a Chevy transmission in it. And that's actually the reason this car got parked back here, was the transmission went out. They used a TH400 with overdrive transmission, TH400, Turbo 400. You know, same thing they use in pretty much all the trucks and cars of the 70s. Hooked up to a Jaguar V12. And normally the trans is not what goes out on this car. I think I forget the name of it. It starts with a B. Fuel injection does. All the electronics do, because apparently they're terrible. They absolutely suck. They're the worst things in the world, from what I've been told by Jaguar, from what I've read on Jaguar forums. I want to say this particular car, if you were to put it in today's money, it was like, back in the 70s, it was like, we're back in 86, this was like a $100,000 sports coupe. It was crazy expensive. And this one only has 38,000 miles on it. Don't matter no more. As long as the frame isn't rusty underneath, this car's pretty much just a body. I don't even know if you could save this one. 0 to 60, I think, was around like 14 seconds or something like that out of the V12. It's not a fast car. Just because it's a V12, it's not fast. And these cars, in really good condition, can be had for about like $5,000. You can get an XJS V12. I don't know about the C. I think the C is a little more expensive due to the rarity of it. For like $5,000 with low miles, and you have a V12 sports car. Now, granted, the V12, the motor is not that bad, I've heard. The motor is not that bad. It's the fuel injection, the electronics, everything else on the car that sucks. Because the car is built pretty good, I've heard. The motor is fairly okay, but those electronics are deal breakers. They make it, it's a terrible car with those on it. It'll run, but then it'll die every time. Oh, we got a train. Yeah, we know. We know. Well, as I was saying about this car is, yeah, they'll die because of the motor, because all the electronics on them. And the motor still is around. In fact, I have a video of the motor, the V12. And I had an idea for that if I would ever get a hold of the motor. Because the motor is, there's an old Trans Am back there. That's in about the same shape this car is, but was an old race car. So I wouldn't have to do nowhere near as much work. So get the V12 up and running and carburate it. Put a carburetor on there, probably 2 Hollies. Drop all the electronics and drop it in the Pontiac. Maybe put a turbo on there. Have a turbo V12 Pontiac. This particular car, I was saying fix all the metal, maybe fix it as good as I possibly can, if I even decide to do that, not just make it a straight drag car. Put a 392 or 5.7 liter Hemi in it, modern day Hemi, with a supercharger on top and fully built. Hooked up to a Chevy 10-bolt rear end. I think this car would be really cool that way. Sure, it wouldn't be a V12 anymore, and sure, it wouldn't be original, but look at it. Look at the car in the state that it is in right now. Look at this. This car, as you can see, XJSC, is in no way going to be easy to restore. If it can even be restored, there might be a chance that this car is just not savable. That does happen sometimes. I'm not going to lift up the hood or anything because, again, no motor in this thing. And there's no need to open the interior. I mean, I could probably show it to you. Just trying not to touch a tree. I don't want to get a tick. Sorry for the shaky cam. Yeah, and look, there's more rust on this side. In my opinion, these are really pretty cars. Oh, almost dropped my camera. Or my phone. Really. Again, sorry for the shaky camera. And these are really pretty cars. And I think it'd be really fun to have one with a V8 in it. Hemi swap. And you don't see these things motor swapped all too often. Normally they just remain really clean, well maintained examples, which there's nothing wrong with. This is a rare car. If anything, I'm all for that. I'm just saying this one would be a perfect candidate if you want to do something like that, so long as that underneath is still good. Which is sitting up a little high, so it hasn't been sitting on the ground, and we're not in Florida or something where there's a bunch of humidity. Well, there is a bunch of humidity down here, but our cars don't rust out as bad as like they do up north or really far down south, because we're in the more northern part of Mississippi, or we're in the more northern part of the South. So this car should be fine underneath. Well, what else was I saying? Yeah, it had power everything. It had power everything in the car. Everything was powered. Of course, AC and all that. Did have a luggage rack in the rear, I think, with a full-size spare tire. You didn't even see that much back in the 80s, even with little cars. And it was a nice, very nice car. Still didn't have quartering lights. Cadillac did. Mercedes did, I think. Buick did. Everyone did. I don't know why this car didn't. Probably because this car started production in like 74 and they didn't change anything all the way up to 96. But yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about the car. I've done ran out of things to talk about. With that being said, if you made it this far, you at least like hearing my voice. So please consider, if you want to help out the channel, please consider like, commenting, and subscribing, and sharing it to anybody who might want to see it. It really does help. The main thing that helps is liking and subscribing. That really helps. Every subscriber counts early on, and I'm still pretty early on, even though thank you for 123 subscribers. I do want to say that. Thank you for that. But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching, and have a good one. I've dragged this video for on too long. Have a good one.